Bonjour les élèves, dans cette leçon, nous allons apprendre à conjuguer les verbes au passé composé avec l'auxiliaire être. D'accord? Voilà la présentation de la leçon. So in this lesson, as I told you, we will learn how to conjugate the French verbs in the passé composé avec être. And we learned previously how to conjugate with the verb avoir. And today we will learn how to conjugate with être. But at the beginning, I'm going to read the learning target, les cibles d'apprentissage. I can use the 17 verbs that express some movement in the past tense with the helper verb être. So we already know that there are 17 verbs that use être in the passé composé, and all of them have some movement in them, in the meaning in common, and they are conjugated with être. But before we start with looking at the verbs that are conjugated with être, we're going to do a little review or a révision of the passé composé with avoir. So when we're conjugating the passé composé, it consists of two words. For most verbs, the passé composé is formed as followed: present tense of avoir plus past participle, n'est-ce pas? And here are some examples. J'ai acheté un jean. I bought a jean. Marc n'a pas choisi de veste. Marc did not choose a vest. Qu'est-ce que tu as fait ce weekend? What did you do this weekend? So all these verbs are conjugated with avoir as a helper verb. D'accord? As most French verbs are. Now, the passé composé of certain verbs, like aller, is formed according to the pattern below. Present tense of être plus past participle. So first of all, we're going to review the conjugation of the verb être or to be. We're going to figure out what the past participles look like, and we're going to decide which verbs exactly take être and which ones do not. D'accord? So remember how to conjugate être. Je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, on est. Nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we all are, you all are, they are. Je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. D'accord? Now, when the passé composé is formed with être, the past participle agrees with the subject in gender. Feminine, add e, in number, plural, add s. So here is already a significant difference between the past participle in when it's conjugated with être versus when it's conjugated with avoir. We learned previously that when it's conjugated with avoir, we just have to figure out what is the ending, right? Based on the ending of the verb in the infinitive. But here, when it's conjugated with être, we have to add one more element, which is the agreement of the past participle with the subject. So, how so? It agrees in gender and number, which means if the subject is singular, the past participle is singular. If it's feminine, the past participle is feminine. So, je suis allée. If a female is speaking, je would be feminine, and then we add a feminine e. Same thing for tu. Il is masculine. If we use elle, we add the e for feminine. Now, we said it should agree with number as well. So if the subject is plural like il, we add an s for the past participle because this past participle is agreeing with the subject. We add an s. If the subject pronoun is plural feminine, we add an S and a E or an E and a S. And then elles sont allées looks like this. The E and S are silent, of course. So here is the conjugation. Je suis allé. Tu es allé. Il est allé. Elle est allée. Ils sont allés. Elles sont allées. Of course, there is nous sommes and vous êtes allés. And aller will also, for nous and vous, will have to follow in gender and number the subject pronoun. So let's keep moving. So again, I can use the 17 verbs that express some movement in the past tense with the verb être. So here is a list of all the 17 verbs that are conjugated with être in the passé composé. The first one, so here you will see the verb on the left. In the middle, you'll see the past participle, and the translation is on the right, okay? Aller, the past participle of aller is aller. Sortir, sorti. Partir, parti. So again, sortir is a regular verb. So its past participle ends with E. Partir, ok, désolé. Partir, its past participle is parti. Arriver, its past participle is to arrive or arriver, and it means arrive. Entrer, entrer. The verb rentrer, its past participle is rentrer. Retourner, retourner with E accent aigu. Monter is monter with E accent aigu. Descendre is descendu. It's an RE verb, so we drop the RE, we add an U. Passer, passer. Rester, rester with E accent aigu. Tomber, its past participle is tomber. Venir, venu. Revenir, revenu. Devenir, devenu. Naître, né. Mourir, mort. And here are the 17 verbs that are conjugated with être. Now, I'm going to say them one more time. Aller, sortir, partir, arriver, entrer, rentrer, retourner, monter, descendre, passer, rester, tomber, venir, revenir, devenir, naître et mourir. What do all these verbs have in common? Meaning-wise, they have some sort of movement in them, right? They imply some sort of movement. When you go, or you go out, or you leave, or arrive, or enter, or return, and so forth, there is a movement, a physical movement, or a change that happens, or a transformation. Now, arriver may also mean to happen, as in the expression, qu'est-ce qui est arrivé? What happened? D'accord? And passé has several meanings. It's conjugated with être when it means to pass by, because it is a movement, but it is conjugated with avoir when it means to take a test or to spend time. Like, j'ai passé une semaine à Lyon. I spent a week in Lyon. In that sense, you use it with avoir. D'accord? So, since there are 17 verbs, is there a way that we can memorize all these verbs? There's 17s of them. There are two ways actually to memorize those verbs. We either memorize, study them, figure out a way to help us memorize them, or we use the Dr. and Mrs. Van der Tramp acronym. Dr. and Mrs. Van der Tramp, and if we look at them, these verbs all start, these are the initials, the first letter of each verb. And we also have la maison d'être, the house of être, the movement, house of être. Let's look at the first option, Dr. and Mrs. Van der Tramp. We have devenir, rentrer, mourir, retourner, sortir, venir, arriver, naître, descendre, entrer, revenir, tomber, rester, aller, monter, partir, et passer. So, Dr. and Mrs. Van der Tramp. Okay, this is one way to memorize it, to memorize all these 17 verbs that use être, or we can look at the house of être, the house of être, la maison d'être. You are welcome to look at the picture. We have être as the verb. We have entrer, rentrer, venir, arriver. So all these four verbs mean kind of to enter or to arrive in a location. Revenir, to come back. Mourir, to die. Passer, to cross or pass by. Retourner, to return. Aller, partir, sortir, to exit. Here, with this verb you enter, with this you exit. And here you ascend, monter, rester, to stay, naître. Maybe just rester doesn't have a movement in it, but let's say it's between monter et descendre, to go up, to stay, and then to descend, yes, to descend, to go down, or tomber. Naître, I mean, the act of getting born is also, it implies some kind of action or transformation. D'accord? So this is another acronym to memorize the house of être. Here is another photo of the same thing. Here is an example of conjugation. And I may ask you to pause here and translate the sentences. Traduisez les phrases suivantes. Now, we're gonna look at 3 more verbs, sortir, partir, et dormir. I can demonstrate command and use of verbs sortir, partir, et dormir in the present tense. Sortir means to go out or to get out, partir to leave, and dormir to sleep. And these are the following verbs do not follow the regular IR conjugation pattern. So how do we conjugate them? They follow this following pattern. In the present tense, you drop the tir and mir from the je, tu, il forms and add for je, s, for tu, s, for il, elle, on, t. Like so. Je sors, tu sors, il sort. For nous, ONS. For vous, EZ. For il et elle, ENT. Nous sortons, vous sortez, ils sortent. Same thing. Je pars, tu pars, il part. Nous partons, vous partez, ils partent. Same thing for dormir. Now try it on your own. So, sortir and partir are in the house of être, one of the être verbs. Dormir is not in the house of être. So it's conjugated with avoir. What helping verbs accompany or helping verb accompanies these in the passé composé? Sortir and partir, of course, is être, but dormir, since it's not of the houses of être, it's conjugated with avoir. Here is a conjugation of sortir. I'll let you pause and read. This translates, or this is what we just said in a table form. Same thing, je dors, tu dors, il, elle dort, nous dormons, vous dormez, ils dorment. And in the passé composé, it's j'ai dormi. D'accord. So I'll speak about pendant also and il y a. Pendant expresses the duration of a habitual or repeated action, situation, or event with a definite beginning and end. Here is the formula. Pendant combien de temps plus present or past tense equals how long or for how long. Pendant plus time period plus present or past tense equals for or duration, like this. Pendant combien de temps est-ce que vous dormez chaque nuit? How long do you sleep every night? Pendant combien de temps est-ce qu'ils ont visité Paris? For how long did they visit Paris? Ils ont visité Paris pendant 2 semaines. They visited Paris for 2 weeks. Now, il y a is used like this. Il y a plus time period equals ago. D'accord? So, j'ai acheté ce guide d'Italie il y a 1 semaine. I bought this guide of Italy a week ago. Vous avez voyagé en Espagne il y a 2 ans. Did you go to Spain 2 years ago? D'accord. So, please fill out the lesson notes. review or pause and repeat as needed, and do the accompanying activities, and ask me if you have any questions. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.